All right. Happy Thursday, everyone. How's everybody doing? John, Megan, how are you guys doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Megan?
Yeah, I'm great. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here as
Yeah.
well. It is Thursday, December 2nd. We are in the month of December, which is a huge part of the reason why we are here hanging out on a Thursday afternoon talking about Phish. I'm really excited because today we are going to be talking about what may be, could be, potentially is, probably is the greatest month of Phish on an annual basis. I'm just so excited about this. How are you guys feeling going into today's conversation?
I'm excited, man. I mean, we're going to definitely talk about one or two of my favorite shows of all time, and including one of my favorite attended shows. So everything else, all the other years, all that other stuff doesn't matter.
I'm equally excited. Megan, how are you feeling?
I'm excited. It was really fun to listen back to all of these December shows. It was fun to think about the month in isolation. I've never done that before. That was really fun.
Did you listen to all of them? Did you skim
Yeah,
like here's a jam from or did you like play them all? Like,
I
come on.
listened to every single December show ever. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Okay.
That would be so amazing if I did.
I mean,
I wish I
that's a real
could.
job.
That
You'd
that
have
would
to.
be that would have to be my full-time job. Yeah. If
I
anybody
just
wants to pay me to do that too, I'm here for it.
There it is. There it is. She will be your archivist. We have it right here. I just put them all into a logic file and just press play and let them all play at the same time and just kind of consumed every single December Fish show all at once. It was pretty amazing. Lots of jams, some gimmicks, some good songs. I'll tell you what, some good songs.
I
But
just played Hershey 95, New Haven 95, the Tweezabella, and then a few Hampton, or not Hampton, although one was Hampton, a few 99 jams. And I was like, that's about covered it.
you got to feel, you got to vibe.
I've heard it all.
Well, we're going to
That's
talk
the
through.
repentance. Sorry. I'm sorry.
We are here to learn still. We are going to talk through some December Fish. That is why we are here today. The goal of today's episode is to break down December Fish as well as to discuss with you all a massive poll that went out just about 2 days ago, trying to figure out the strongest month of Fish history or Fish December history, just based around three very strong months, be it 95, 97, 99. We'll get to those results. We'll get to our thoughts here in a little bit. I do want to just make a quick PSA before we get into our sponsors for today. We got a bunch of feedback about, hey, what about New Year's Eve shows? Ha ha ha. We will be covering New Year's Eve shows in probably more depth than anyone out there wants us to cover them, but we are going to be doing it. We're going to be taking a day by day approach to each date of Phish New Year's Eve history. And we're very excited about that. It's going to allow us a deep dive into like what is a 1229 show versus a 1230 show? What happens when Phish comes out on stage on New Year's Day? All of that's going to come in this amazing December series that we are doing here on HFPod on Tour. And we are here, as I just said, HFPod on Tour, presented by both Shift Genuine Cannabis as well as Section 119. Two great sponsors, huh, Jonathan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, what goes great with Phish? Cannabis. HF Pod on Tour, as you said, is proudly sponsored by Shift Genuine Cannabis. They are based and sold in Colorado. We had a chance to visit the Shift Ranch outside of Telluride and tour their grows, and it was an amazing experience in so many ways. Not only just a beautiful part of the country, beautiful part of Colorado, but their operation was amazing. Our biggest takeaway was the care and attention to detail that Shift puts into growing their flower. Facility was beautifully high tech, every detail in place. I mean, I was fascinated by the console where they had all these data points, and I wanted to just get into the tech end of it. And we even, we got to meet their on-site scientists, learn about tissue culture and propagation techniques, which of course play a huge role in plant health and quality. And we saw firsthand, as I say, all these data points and on their growing and the environmental conditions and the tracking of every plant from the lab to the store. It's just amazing. And it all is to make sure the bud that you get is consistent, pure, and of the highest quality. Shift sells flower, pre-rolls, cartridges, and concentrates. So you can find out more by visiting shiftcannabis.com.
Absolutely. You
Brian,
know what my favorite part about that was?
what's that?
Remember that room that we were in where like the plants were, I don't know, I guess like in their second stage, it was like the heavily lit room. It was like a ton of wattage that was in there. And like we all walked in, and after like 3 minutes of being there, I felt elevated. And I was like, is this real? Like, is what is happening really real? And you know, Michael turned to me and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is the plants just giving off good vibes too." And I was like, I feel it right now. Right now, I get it.
Yeah, so speaking
Or
of
like,
good
did you get
vibes,
to wear like cool suits when you
oh,
did this
yeah, we had the
tour?
Oh yeah,
paper
That's
spacesuits and
awesome.
suits and
everything.
everything, and it looked really good when I wore my sunglasses in that extraordinarily bright room. Um, Brian, speaking of looking really good, that hoodie that you're wearing is that's pretty sweet. Tell us about that.
Where am I? There now you can see it.
There it is.
This is my new favorite hoodie. This is my Section 119 donut hoodie, which it gives that subtle look to wearing Phish clothes. I can wear this out in public. The right people know, they kind of give me a hat tip or like that side eye of, hey, I see you out here. But it's the type of thing that I can wear anywhere. I can wear it out to lunch. I can wear it while I'm working. I can wear it to see the family. And at all times, I'm represented in showcasing my love for the band Phish. And this all comes from our second presenting sponsor, Section 119. This hoodie and like all their clothes, they're so comfy, they're subtle enough to wear anywhere, and they are top-notch quality. Section 119 was started by a couple of huge Phish fans who wanted more than a t-shirt to show their appreciation for our favorite bands, and it's turned into a huge line of unique apparel for Phish and the Grateful Dead, all of their fans. Right now, Section 119 is running their biggest promo ever. You can score up to 30% off for the holidays using promo code HFPod when you check out at section119.com. So visit them. You can find cool gifts for your wife, for your husband, your brother, your dad, whoever, your podcast co-host, whoever it may be, all for the holidays. And when you're there, please let them know that your friends at HFPod sent you. You can take the post-purchase survey on your order confirmation page. Let them know that we sent you. That helps us out. That helps them out. Gives them good insight that HFPod is here sending you to get great, great quality clothes. And with that, let's kick off our discussion about December Phish. I'm really excited for this. This is like, I don't want to say I'm like more excited for this episode than the ones that are to come because the content is going to be awesome. But like you said, Megan, I listened to a lot of December Phish in the last couple of days, just going from jam to set to show to, oh, I have to listen to these moments. Oh, wait, I have to go back and listen to this now to counter it with that. I sent Jonathan a picture of the Mike song from 12195, which just like every time I hear it, I feel like I could just like kick a door down or something like that. I mean, amazing stuff, guys.
Well, that show rules your face. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that every time you bring it up, at least once. Yeah, these shows. It's first of all, it's all indoor Phish. It's everybody's got a hoodie on. You wear your long sleeves. You just dress different and better, and the lights are better. The rooms are the ones you want to be in. I don't. I've really found that I prefer indoor Phish, and I like it when it's cold out. Like I don't know. I've never been the biggest lot guy, so I want to get to the show. I'll have a beer outside, go inside, and I want to be there, stake out my spot, be with my friends, start to feel my feet again, and then dance for the next 3 hours. And that's December Phish for me, and I'm excited to talk more about it. What about you, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's cool about December is that it's always kind of like this lead up to this big event. And I think any time that the band has like a big event, whether it's like Halloween or New Year's Eve, they're just, I don't know, I imagine they're practicing a lot. So I feel like they're just got that like kind of like big energy buildup. And so I feel like these December shows are pretty hot always. And I also think there's just this kind of feeling like it's all coming to an end the year. I think that like they tour so much in the summer and the fall, especially these kind of historic years that we're talking about. These are mega tours, a lot of them. And then it ends in December. And a lot of the times they weren't touring again for 6 more months. So I think there's a lot of like energy put into it, and a knowing that this is kind of like the end of whatever this moment is with Phish.
Yeah, I think that build-up point is spot on. It's a culmination, right? We're
Mhm.
really in the run up to, not only the holiday season, but Fish's like own holiday season, which is the New Year's run.
Yeah.
So this is, in some of these years, you're right, they toured more than almost any other.
Mhm.
Uh 95, for example. I mean, they toured just a ton. And the December tour was really just the third month of the fall tour, uh, where they just been out playing and playing and playing and
Yeah.
playing at just really amazing shows. And when they're playing that much, it's good. It's good.
It's great, and like that idea of like the build up, it really differentiates December from October, November, and I think specifically about, for all of our listeners out there, we'll probably focus on three big December tours here during this episode: 1995, 1997, and 1999. The first two obviously had shows in November, and like, you know, I would say the biggest difference to my ears between those shows is November 95 is in the middle of this tour across the country that begins on the west coast and works its way, weaves its way to the east, and then ends in the northeast corridor all throughout December. Like every one of those shows is essentially played where the band cut their teeth in the late 80s and early 90s. 97 is this kind of straight line across America from Las Vegas, again ending in the northeast, and 99 is only focused on the northeast but has no November to kind of play before it. But like November 95, you hear the band picking up after Quadrophenia, and you hear kind of that big arena sound really be implemented in a fully confident way, really impact their jamming. You hear them start to stretch out songs in a way that they hadn't totally done since the summer, but it's in a very melodic way. Like I'm thinking the Orlando Stash, the Maryland Free. I think Charleston has like a 30-minute You Enjoy Myself. You hear the band really start to find this big melodic sound that would then be, thrown across every single show in December. But the difference being they're still kind of tinkering in November. In December, they get there, and now they know that they're ending the month at MSG. They know that they've got a 6-month break after this. And these are like the last shows for them to put it all on the line out for.
I'm gonna disagree with you slightly, only in that if we weren't here to talk about December of various years, I would spend a lot of time making the case that December 95 does not belong isolated from November
Mm.
or October. I saw shows in November and December, and it's the same band. I mean, it's just there's not really a switch that flipped after Thanksgiving, um, but that's for another conversation, perhaps.
I will push a little bit back too, because I saw in September 95, 4 of those shows in the West Coast. I just moved West Coast. And so I saw
Oh,
the
cool.
first 3 California shows. And then which is the first time I ever saw Phish in the West Coast, which is like kind of why I went to school in the West Coast, because I wanted to see Phish in the West Coast. And
Bold.
and the Grateful Dead, but
Yeah.
they were no more, alas. But I saw those 3 shows, and then I saw a show in Arizona. And I feel like those shows are so dramatically different from the November, December shows of that year. It was a lot of Billy Breathe stuff, and it was a lot of the same songs every few nights, even like playing same songs back to back different nights. And there's some good shows, but they sound so different to me. But maybe it's just from that's the beginning of the tour to the end.
Yeah, I would say that the beginning of the tour is different. It's more like summer. But by the time we're talking November, as we're approaching Thanksgiving and stuff, I mean they're in stride, and that stride just continues right on through the end of tour, and then in the New Year's run, of course, which we're not going to talk about today.
I'm going to put a pin in this because what your
We'll get back to
pushback is will actually inform an argument that I'm going to make later that will wrap around and agree with both of you in a lot of ways. So before that, you just hinted at this. We are not, just as a reminder to everyone listening out there, in this episode, we are not talking about New Year's Eve. There's so much Phish music to talk about in December prior to a 12/28 show that we are going to focus all of our energy on that music prior to it. We will cover New Year's Eve later, but I want to get a thought from each of you. What do you hear as kind of the big difference between a December Phish show and a New Year's Eve show? Is there something that kind of defines it in its sound and its vibe to you, Meg?
I mean, I think the New Year's Eve runs always just have so much. I think they're always just working towards that last night. And there's a reason, we'll get into that later about why the 30th is always so awesome. But I think that there's kind of like, they're seen as like a package. And I think the December shows before that are really kind of like ending the fall tour. I think the fall tour and the New Year's Eve run are totally separate things. Kind of like, sometimes I feel like the Halloween run seems totally separate from fall tour. I would argue it didn't this year, but I think that like New Year's Eve just is almost like a holiday run, totally separate from the fall tour. And I think those last December shows just kind of like reap the benefits of them playing all of that, especially in like a 95 or a 97 where they're just touring so much and they've been playing together so much.
I'm going to pretty much agree with this and just add to it and say that like with a fall tour into Halloween, the going to, this year being a good exception to it. Generally, when you come into a Halloween run after a fall tour, at the end of a fall tour, everybody looks at it as this is basically a reset night one. Whatever they play can be played again. It's a special separate thing. You could make a case that happened this year too, but it just felt like there was continuity. And then with a New Year's run, it's definitely a reset. First of all, there's been a break, sometimes longer than others, but there's been a break. And these shows are contained. Even when they did a little tour, like 97, I think is a really good example of that because not to go too far into, 12/28s and such, but I had friends who had just seen them in, November and December, early December, who said to me, this US Air Arena show is nothing like what we just saw 2 weeks ago. They weren't wrong. I, of course, hadn't seen them a couple weeks earlier, so I was still excited. But, they do. They just stand apart.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out before agreeing with both of you, Jonathan and I had a conversation before you got on, Megan, and I love the fact that you understand seasons as well. All of these December shows are fall shows. These are not winter shows. Thank you very much. This is a part of fall tour. No, I agree with you guys. I guess like the only thing I would add to it is my winter break when I was a kid. And I always kind of think about like that period with like just such great nostalgia. And Megan, I'm sure you know this as a third grade teacher, like it always happened around like December 16th, 17th, 18th. I don't know, that week or so before Christmas is when we would get out of school. And those 3 weeks leading up to it, I couldn't think about anything else other than winter break is coming, Christmas is coming. And that like energy and excitement that the thing you're looking forward to is still so far away is how I feel when I listen to December Phish shows, where like they know something special is coming. In 95, it was our first New Year's Eve gig at MSG. In 97, it was our return to MSG and this 3-night run there. And also like capping off this really, really important year in our history. In 99, it's the build up to Big Cypress. And those shows that lead up to it in the December tour proper, they just feel like a band that is staying in the moment, but clearly looking towards something gleaming at the end of the tunnel. May it be a break or may it be this huge next step forward for them from a career standpoint. Whereas when you get to the New Year's run, within 3 songs of the first show on, be it 12/28, 12/27, 12/29 as we're going to have this year, whatever that first night is of the New Year's run, you kind of feel that relaxed. We're back here again. This is all contained around 4 specific shows. I don't know. It feels like the kind of reunion you would get when you would go home for the holidays from Christmas and like, from college, and you'd see all your friends again. Whereas like that excitement leading up to that is what I hear in those first 9 to 12 shows that you get in December.
You're not wrong.
we're all not wrong.
Yeah,
So
it's wild.
let's talk. We meant where we messaged this earlier in the episode. We're going to focus mainly on 95, 97, 99. Jonathan, this was something that we talked about and made a quick adjustment to the show here because this is something you were interested in. What are kind of in your mind the differences between these 3 years, and what do you hear as the band is adjusting across a 4-year period in time and 3 tours?
To put it simply, 95, that's the peak. Everything after that is just lesser. No, I'm kidding. I've heard that case made. I have made that case in the past. I don't really believe it. I will say that, my preferences being what they are sort of back that attitude, but I don't really believe it. 95, December 95, all of 95 is an extraordinarily exploratory year. It's weird, it's driven, anything can happen. Any corner can be turned and will be turned. They, they would go anywhere. They would, play mics right into Wikipaw. They would open shows or maybe say like a second set with Tweezer Reprise without having played the Tweezer that night. They were just demolishing the preconceived notions of what Phish show structures were, which is something that anybody who's paying attention this year knows they were doing it again this year. So it was huge in 95, like in that way. 97 was really about writing a groove. I mean, there were a lot of other things, but that is kind of the defining sound of particularly fall 97 and into December. And, Trey would go, wow, Fishman would play a lot of drums, and then Trey would play that chord again. Maybe I'm simplifying it. But that was the sound of 97. It was so different it's light years different from 95. Like if you look at the Tweezabella, right? What is that?
Yeah.
12.6.
12.6.
And then you compare it to the New Haven Tweezer in 95. I mean, they're just completely different monsters, both amazing. And then you go to 99. And 99 is just weird. It has elements of all of these things I've described. It has elements of the kind of ambient, feedbacky kind of stuff that they were doing in 98 and continuing into 99. Noise as an element. And not just the kind of racket that some of the 95 jams descended into, but I mean like noise. Like Trey finally got the My Bloody Valentine sound to really come through, and even in one of the like least beloved shows of that December, which is the first night Hampton, they start in the second set, like after I don't know, maybe the second song and second set, third song, they just start a jam out of nothing. It's 5-minute jam that turns into Bug, and this is the least loved show. Say like you look at the Fishnet ratings, which are, I always knock them, but people don't like this show. And yet they're doing a jam out of just out of nothing in that show. And it's awesome. So, but it sounds nothing like you would have heard in those other years. And I've taken a lot of your time. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
That was a good
I think
TED
that there's
Talk.
a lot there. There's really good stuff there. Megan, what are your thoughts on kind of the differences between these 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, 95, it's funny. Like 2 days ago, we were talking about striving and what that does to a band. And like 95 is the pinnacle of their striving, right?
Yeah.
It is like the mountaintop that they've been working towards. Like at the end of 95, like so much has changed for this band. Like they're playing New Year's Eve at the biggest venue, on the planet. It's Madison Square Garden, New Year's Eve. They've made it. Jerry Garcia has died. So now they are the counterculture band, in the US, the biggest counterculture act. Their audience is going to grow enormously because of that, and for better or worse. And I think that year, just so much changed for them that year that I feel like you can hear that in their music. They're not they feel like, I think their striving has paid off, right? They can call the shots, right? I mean, probably so much change for them professionally as far as like doors that were open for them and things they could do and choose to do and choose not to do. So I think that year is really the end result of that, which I think is why probably people think it is kind of like the peak, like you were saying, Jonathan. I think that it is kind of the peak of them getting to where they probably never even expected they would go, just because it is so unbelievable. And I mean, it's an epic month for Phish, 95 December. I mean, they played, I think I'm looking here, 58 shows that fall. That's crazy, and then ending with this, monster New Year's Eve at Madison Square Garden. I think they were playing Fast, Furious. I mean, I listened to some of that 95 Phish and I'm like tired just listening to it. Like, it is so fast. It's
Try
so
playing along with that, something like that, like the tempos
I
and they
can't
do it
even
for
imagine
hours.
it. Yeah,
So
and it's
great.
like it's incredible, but it's just not my favorite because we'll get into that later. But
Yeah.
it's awesome, and it's I think that I listened to like a Mike song from Hershey, December 1, and I could be sold. Like that Phish is so good. But I think that year is just the end result of that striving. And 97 is like, to me, just them. I think after Remain in Light in 96, that when they covered that for Halloween, they found this groove and then they just enjoyed riding that. We got to hear like Mike coming through the mix stronger, and it just turns into this just like funk love. And for me, that's like totally where it's at. And I also just feel like they were in such a different place, right, than in 95. They are calling the shots. They are, creating the kind of tours they want. And, they're going to Europe when they want. They're, exploring in Europe and playing smaller venues, but having fun and workshopping new sounds. And I just think 97 was just more of a, not a chill year, but like, I feel like they kind of just let it be a little bit more than they had in 95, where they're just really like gunning. And for me, 99 is like it's the least listened to Phish for me personally, as far out of these three. The soundscape, right? There's like this like dissonance and just like tonalness to it that's really cool and like really spacey and weird and psychedelic, and I like that. But it's definitely a totally different vibe than in 97. And I think that also the lead up to Big Cypress was like hugely inspiring to them. And so I think that the end of that year, they were touring the most, I think, in 99 since 95. I think they hadn't toured that big of a tour since 95. So they were, so they were like pushing, and I think that's why that year is also really great, but definitely a different sound.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And before I state my piece, I just want to encourage anyone who's out there hanging with us. Thank you, first of all. But please feel free to share your thoughts on what are the differences between 95, 97, 99, what kind of your big takeaways are, maybe some of your favorite shows. We'll definitely highlight and talk about them here on the show. I think, like you both said in so many words, like such a great walkthrough of what these 3 years, 3 different tours mean. I was thinking about it as I was listening, and I kind of reduced it all to 3 takes on Tweezer. And I was thinking about the New Haven version from 1995. And these 3 jams to me like speak to the larger goals and focus of where the band was at the time. That New Haven Tweezer 12/2/95, 26 years ago today, just an amazing jam to go back to. It's one of the most aggressive, loud, in your face, not necessarily terrifying, but like you were talking about the tempos.
I have heard it reported as terrifying.
Like I'm more
firsthand
terrified. Like,
experience.
how did Fishman's heart not come out of his chest? Like
Youth.
you talk about the tempos, Megan. Like that is a jam that speaks to a band that you talk about striving. You talk about how fast they could play. It's the constant, it's the most fascinating challenge of Phish to me, is you have Trey Anastasio as your lead guitarist, one of the most influential, one of the greatest guitarists on the face of the planet of all time. And he is leading your band. And yet Trey is this musician that does not want to be just like out with the spotlight on him, playing a crazy guitar solo, showing you all of his tricks, and then we go back in the song. He wants to communicate with his band members in the way that like King Crimson did. And so you're at this crazy point in December 95 where the band is probably faster, tighter, stronger than they ever will be. And yet they know that this cannot be the peak of what they do. I said this last on Tuesday, like they could have walked off stage on December 31st, never played another note again, and we'd still be talking about them. I believe that firmly. But they knew that there was something more to them. And so you hear in that tweezer, this band, like, it's all about communication between Trey and Fishman. They're trying to align on riffs and, hey, I'm going to change it right here. Can you follow me? Can you do this the same way? And can we actually still stay in communication? And they do it, but it sounds like a wholly 1995 jam. You go ahead 2 years, that Tweezer Bella that you were talking about, Jonathan, you've got this mixture of the funk sounds, like it has like a 2.5, 3 minute long intro before they ever actually get to the full band riff. You know, it's like Page, Trey's on the wah, Fishman's kind of screwing around a little bit on the drums. And then that version turns into this like, you know, prototypical funk jam, which then around 13 minutes morphs into one of the prettiest jam segments I've ever heard from the band. And you hear them kind of point the way forward, and you hear funk leading the way towards this democratic plane that will lead them to a new sound, and almost starts to hint towards where they would peak with like the ambient jam and the lemon wheel next, you know, the following summer. It's this like beautiful melodic kind of watercolor type of painting of a jam. 2 years later, Raleigh, they play this tweezer that, like you said, Jonathan, Trey finally has figured out how to sound like he's playing in My Bloody Valentine. He finally sounds like Kevin Shields. And I was listening to it last night, and like I was thinking about 2021 Phish in the context of 1999 Phish. I was thinking about like this relaxed approach as they're approaching the biggest concert of their lives at Big Cypress. But Page spends the entire jam on the grand piano, and he adds these just like regal riffs that like over Trey's, you know,
The nerve of that
shoegaze
guy.
shred.
I mean, come
Like
on.
there's no synths. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna hang out over here on the grand piano. It adds this beautiful sound to it that you think about those three versions of Tweezer, like they sound like their years in the way that the band was, you know, moving closer towards just like a very melodic approach, while also, you know, Trey is trying to figure out a way to step in the background and allow the other guys to like have their voices be heard on a much more even level.
Well, you know, that's a very smart approach. Some folks out there probably remember when Matt Dwyer first came on HFPod as a guest. It was the deep dive into Tweezer as a multi-part episode, and basically the thesis was, as goes Tweezer, so goes Phish.
Yeah.
And he's not wrong. And here we have three good examples.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, you know, these three tours, they feel like an arc, and they feel like how we get ourselves to October 7th, 2000, when the band needs to take their first break. They feel, you know, like a part of this band peaking, and then, you know, the crescendo falls, and we've got to figure out what's next. That said, before we go into a break, give me some of your favorite December shows. These could be outside of 95, 97, 99. They could only be in that, whatever you want it to be. Give me a couple of your favorite December shows, Megan.
Well, I thought the assignment was to stay within these 3 years for our favorite December shows. So no, but I'll definitely throw some other. I think you know, the show that
leave it to the teacher to know specifically what the directions were. I appreciate
this wasn't in the syllabus. I'm sorry. 2003 was not in the syllabus.
You can't test on this.
Exactly. I prepare very intently, but it has to be like really, you know, focused preparation
exactly
here.
What you want.
Okay, so I really want to talk about December 7th, 97 at the Nutter Center in Dayton. I just think the show is like super well crafted. It's super fluid. I think it's got bust outs. It's got good jams, well played classics, and like this super strong first set, which I think we're always thinking about the second set. I think it's kind of fun to think about like a really, really strong first set. I think the opening 3 songs with AC/DC Bag into Psycho Killer into Jesus Left Chicago. Just so awesome. I think anytime they play Talking Heads, like I'm here for it. And I think that is just such a fun opener, and they just flow into each other. I mean, the segues in this show are incredible. Just
Ridiculous.
they're so ridiculous. Like sometimes you can't even believe you're in a new song. It just sounds so perfect. You're like, oh my God. I mean, did they rehearse these? Like I'm so curious about how these happened. I love the It's Ice into Swept Away into Steep back into It's Ice. I love when they play those songs. So beautiful. And they're all segueing into each other into like this gorgeous theme. I just think the theme is really beautiful. But for me, this tube of this set is just so fun. It's funky, rowdy, groovy, and they're doing that like stopping and starting a lot, which I just think is super fun. And then they end the song and then just like pick up the jam. Like, no, we want to keep doing this, and then get into this like funky, spacey jam, which I think is just, it's so fun. It just shows them they're so in the moment. They're like, yeah, we're just going to keep doing this. Even though we're done with the song, we're just going to go back to this. And I just love the second set. I love like the Wolfmans. I think that song in 97 really shined, and hearing that like this funk groove slide into this like huge bust out of Boogie On, which is one of my favorite songs when they play. They hadn't played it in 9 years, and it's just super fun and ends in like this beautiful, well played Reba. And the only issue I have with this show is I don't love A Day in the Life as an encore. It just makes me kind of sad. I don't know.
Oh,
This is an interesting take.
wait. I can't.
We're about to get diverted.
I just
No, it's fine.
really like an exclamation point ending of a show, and I feel like it's an amazing song.
Chord doesn't do it.
Yeah, like I just think that like I heard them play it in London. It was amazing, but I just feel like I don't know. The song is bittersweet to me. So,
Say no more.
but,
You heard him play it in London. You don't need to hear it again, I think.
Yeah,
And that's
that was it.
fair. And you don't have to defend yourself. Not to me.
I'm here
No,
to defend
I'm just
myself.
a moron on the internet.
Before we get to you, Jonathan, anyone out there listening, if you want to share your favorite December shows, they could be within the assignment of 95, 97, 99. We will shout them out, because I can guarantee you we are not going to speak about every single one of them. We're
I've got a
not
list.
capable of it. And there's a lot that we're missing. I know it. So share us your favorite shows. But they could be outside of those years as well. John, what do you got?
This is tough. There's a lot that I like, and I didn't want to just speak endlessly about my favorite 95 shows, which is most of them. But I will say, going outside the brief, 12/1/94 needs a mention, because that show's amazing. Great tweezer with the Norwegian wood in there. And it goes into Big Black Furry Creatures and Makasupa in ICU tweezer. That whole thing is just outstanding. And 1994 Phish is really good, and this is a fine and good example of it. Also, there's an Uncle Pen in the first set, so you can't go wrong. But I saw a couple of the December 95 shows, but not the right ones. 12/1 Rules Your Face, don't get me wrong, is a great show, but I should have also gone to New Haven, because that tweezer is mind blowing. You covered it pretty well though, Brian. So I will jump ahead to talk about the 12/14 show, Broome County Veterans Memorial Arena. It's another big tweezer, timber tweezer. We got a keyboard army, a rare and interesting thing. Haley's into NICU. Again, great show, amazing playing. I saw the next night, which was also fun, cool rotation jam. I got 2 of those. How about you guys? No,
No.
sorry.
You know when I started seeing this band.
Yeah, and then but back to Broome County, the Bold as Love by request encore. Is that an okay encore, Meg? I think those are pretty good. And
She can't handle classic rock encores.
No, it's fine. It's It's great show. And I also want to say that I really don't quite, I kind of touched on this earlier, I don't quite get the disdain for the December 99 Hampton shows. It's not just my attendance bias. I've listened to them again, as I was talking about earlier. I was talking about that one jam, but I think those are decent shows. I actually think the 12:15 show from the arena inside Washington, D.C., that has changed its name every week since it was built, is not better, but it's rated higher. It's not better, though. I was at that one too. But, how can you go wrong with any of these? Brian, show us how we can go wrong. Let's hear one of your picks.
Yeah, this will be the wrong pick. So I have a couple. I love Kevin Shapiro, absolutely amazing human. I have 3 shows that I have just been endlessly begging to be released. One is a summer show. It is my second favorite Phish show of all time, July 25th, 1999 from Deer Creek. We are not here to talk about July
Yeah,
Phish.
it's
Maybe
way off
in
topic.
10 months. So I will
That
move
really
on from that.
wasn't on the syllabus.
Yeah, come on, move on.
Way off.
He's not listening. Just
I'm just making the rules and breaking them. No, but the other is a box set release of Philly 97, 12/2 and 12/3, and specifically 12/2, which is 24 years old today. Yeah, 24 years old. The second set, Mike Song, Simple, Dogface Boy, Yamar, Weekapog. I've said this before. I will say it again. There's an argument to be made. It might be the greatest hour of Phish ever put to tape. Songwriting, segues, jams.
could really use a hydrogen, though. I mean,
it could use a hydrogen, but you get a beautiful Dogface Boy that comes out of Simple in such a perfect little segue. You get Yamar that's funny, goes into a cool funk jam, and then segues into Weekapog, and then that's 15 minutes on top of itself and just gets so intense. And this is all before mentioning like the Mike's funk pseudo Tweezabella type jam that we have. It's just amazing playing. It's so diverse. And whenever I hear that 97 was a funk tour, I always point people to 2 separate jams, the Vegas Stash and that Hour of Phish, that Mike's Groove from Philly, because those showcase really where the band was like at this peak of creativity, not just funk. And carrying over the next night, 12/3, the David Bowie is a David Bowie until they break free, and they're in this ambient, beautiful zone that segues into Possum, which then goes into a funk jam. And if you look it up on Tweezer or on YouTube, Tweezer is everywhere. We are always in Tweezer. If you look it up on YouTube, that funk jam contains like the greatest Mike and Trey dance ever, where they're just like stepping side to side with the beat. Oh, it's my favorite. I send it to people who have no idea who Phish is to be like, this is my favorite band. It's like choreographed dancing. It's all start stop jamming.
Are you trying to scare them away?
Very much so. Just stay away. They're in these like bright white shoes that
tickets are already tough.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't need anyone else.
But no, that little segment, I mean, there's a lot that could be added from both 95 and 99. The Portland, Maine show from 95, 12/11. The following night from Providence has a 31-minute Down with Disease. That's really glorious. I love the first set from 12/15, another Spectrum show. Big shout out to 12/8/99, the second of 2 shows in Portland, Maine, that has a really underrated, overlooked set list, great jamming, and a You Enjoy Myself that segues into Tweezer Reprise. There's no Tweezer in the show. It's just an amazing month. It's an amazing month. The last one I'll say, it just came to me, the 20th anniversary show gets a lot of shit because a lot of people were like, that's all you're going to do for your 20th anniversary? But it has a third quarter, the rock and roll, Tweezer Reprise, Weekapog, Big Black Furry Creature from Mars, Kung, Big Black Furry Creature from Mars. That whole segment is just some of my favorite listening from 2.0. And if you haven't heard that rock and roll, I highly recommend it. It's amazing. Or it's rock and roll into Weekapog. It's just incredible stuff. So
sounds okay.
It's okay. Before we jump into our second segment, which includes a lot of poll responses and some potential hot takes and debates, none hotter than a day in the life, though.
I really threw a grenade with that one.
Yeah, we're gonna remember
Yeah.
that too.
Expected.
You open a big wound. It's my wife has seen 99 Phish shows and has never once seen A Day in the Life. I've seen 82 or 83. I've never once seen it. We saw separate shows this fall, and she told me she wouldn't let me back in the house if at one of the shows I was at, they played A Day in the Life. So I spent the whole every show being
Freaking
like,
out.
please don't. And I want to hear it really badly, but I was like, do not play this. I can't have you play this tonight. So, before though we move on to segment 2, we are going to remind you of our presenting sponsors here. Shift Genuine Cannabis. We want to remind you once again here that HFPod on Tour is proudly presented by Shift Genuine Cannabis. They're based and sold here in the wonderful state of Colorado, to which I am in right now. It's like 75 degrees outside, guys. I don't know what's going on. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's amazing. Shift
That's not
sells
fair.
flower. It's not fair. Shift sells flower, pre-rolls, cartridges, and concentrates. Please visit shiftcannabis.com to learn more. Jonathan, what else we got?
Just want to shout out again our sponsor, Section 119. Right now, they are running their biggest promo ever with up to 30% off for the holidays. If you can visit section119.com and to check them out, find cool gifts for your wife, brother, husband, dad, sister, favorite podcaster, or just yourself. That's section119.com.
You can see our address below. Yes. And finally, we want to tell you about our good friends at Sunset Lake CBD. Sunset Lake CBD is a farmer-owned business that ships CBD products directly from their farm to your door. For years, Sunset Lake was a Vermont dairy farm producing milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I think we all know who Ben & Jerry's is, right?
They make
I've
ice
heard
cream?
of them. Yeah.
They make ice cream. They're good. They're great.
I guess
In
that from
2018,
context.
In 2018, Sunset Lake diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. With a product for everyone, they offer pre-rolls, hemp cigars, and hemp flowers, as well as tinctures, gummies, and CBD coffee crafted to help with stress, aches, and pains. Sunset Lake CBD saves you money by shipping high-quality CBD products directly from their farm to your door, as I said. Please visit sunsetlakecbd.com. Use the promo code HFPod. That's HFPod for 20% off your purchase. Once again, that's sunsetlakecbd.com. Promo code HFPod. All right. So, in the time between our last episode, where we talked about 2021 Phish and did a big look back on the year that was, RJB, our fateful co-host, friend, the wonderful RJB, put out a poll.
Troublemaker, RJB.
Bit of a troublemaker, stating you can only keep one December Phish tour. Choose from below. December 95, December 97, and December 99. We received over 1,200 responses, 10 quote tweets, people that were clearly on another level with this poll. And the results came in with 14.9% of respondents, December 1999, with 37% of respondents, December 1997, and the clear winner, although it was very close for a period of time, with 48.1% of respondents, December 1995. Cue the ding, 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 ding. All right. So, seeing this, it was interesting. And like, I'm looking through the responses here. There was a lot of, truly impassioned responses to these 3 years. These are 3 very popular, very famous, very well-loved years. And for the record, I'll tell you what I voted for shortly, but I love all of these years. And I think, as we've talked about here, there's so much to mine here. And if you had only one of these years to listen to, even if it wasn't the one that you quote picked, there's still a lot to enjoy and still a lot to learn about this band. That said, we are here to decide which is the year that lives.
I don't think we get to decide. I just think we get to choose for ourselves. Everybody else has to
too much.
choose for
Just it's live.
themselves.
It's live television.
But I will
get
say,
1 year, everything else is gone.
I voted multiple times. So
That's what happened.
I mean, I don't have
You
that
are
many
just rule
votes.
breakers, both
I
of
mean,
you.
I have my own Twitter. I have my podcast Twitter. I have
Use
another
them all.
podcast's Twitter. So yeah, I did do that.
Well, let's talk through this. And again, like for anyone out there listening, if you want to share your thoughts on which year you would pick, I want to think about this from like a deserted island standpoint. Like you have one December to listen to Phish forever, and this will be the Phish that you listen to over and over and over again. It's all you got left. Megan, what are you going with?
Well, clearly I'm here to be adversarial today. That's my role, I guess. But I am going for the underdog, which is 97 Phish. And this is why. Like we said, 95 is this striving year. They're hungry, they're fast, they're loud, they're excited. It's amazing. It's amazing Phish. I think 97 for me is just like if I'm on a desert island and I can only dance to one thing, I want to dance to 97 Phish. Like some people complain about kind of like the dominance of the funk gems, right? Or the slower tempo. But I'm into that. I like sexy Phish. I think it's cool when Phish is sexy. Like that's what I want to dance to. And I feel like, sorry, that's my
That's okay. So I think your dog objects.
That's
to
Your
Your
sexy
dog
my
Phish,
is
dog,
so-
like,
Reba.
what are you talking about right now?
Sorry, that's
Well,
Reba. So anyway, I'm into that. And I feel like when I hear 95 Phish, it gives me a little bit of anxiety sometimes. Like when like a possum comes on or like an antelope, like it's so great and the buildup is amazing, but I don't know how to dance to it. And it's just like, so I just feel like I really love 97 Phish. And I just really love that groove that they were getting into. And I just want to hear that type of Phish a lot. Like when I'm dancing and when I'm at a show, like I just want to get more down.
Get more down. Way to connect
Yeah.
2021 Phish to 1997 Phish. I love that. Yeah, it's a really good argument to be made. And I was talking to a friend about this. I was asking him, his thoughts on it. And within like seconds of me asking the question, he said 97. I just love the sound of that year and of that month. Like there's something about the sound of his December 97 show that it sounds like a fully realized band that has zero questions about their abilities, that has fully reinvented themselves within a 2-month or 2-year period in time, and is just kind of celebrating it and riding this wave. And there's this like ease to it. And I love that about it. Jonathan, are you going 97? Are you where are you at?
No, I'm not going 97. Not that I'm not here to knock 1997. But I don't know, maybe it's the ADHD in me. I like the way 1995 can go anywhere and does. I like the way it is all over the map. I love the energy. I also had no trouble dancing to it, although today I might because I'm old and infirm. But back then, it was easy. It just came natural.
Maybe you're just a
And
better dancer than me.
different dancer, I would wager. I doubt better.
This is a good preview of one of our future episodes where we have
yeah.
a dance off to your favorite Phish jams. And
Yeah,
who is
you're
the
looking
best
at it.
Please.
You have to find me at a show to see how I dance. All right.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, I like the sometimes frenetic nature. You started talking about a possum or an antelope. I remember very specifically being at Philly in '95, and my buddy Marty, he got a ticket swap somebody right in the middle of the first set, and he went downstairs to his really great seats, and they played Possum, and I knew at the time they closed the set with Possum for a set. I knew at the time that he was way into Possum. I don't know where he is on it now, and it just that was when Possum had these, like, it got weird sometimes in the intros still, and it would just like boom, Possum, it would just build just in such a way that was just But everything about it, I love the jams. I love the psychedelic nature of the tweezers. They didn't necessarily groove like the 97 tweezers, but they did sometimes. You can hear elements of funk and such in some of the other jams, like that Mike song at Hershey that Brian was texting me about yesterday. There's some of that in there too. They don't linger on it because they don't linger on a lot of things in 95. They play them, they move on. But also, you were hearing beautifully executed versions of songs like Reba, beautifully executed versions of Slave, Harry Hood. Not that there aren't great Harry Hoods in these other years. But yeah, man. Oh, and Ha 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 was more prevalent. So top that.
These are all good reasons. I'm going with December 95. And I don't think that there's a
It's because
I don't
of
think there's a
Suspicious Minds, right?
it's Suspicious Minds. Every time they
Yeah.
played Suspicious Minds, I'm
Yeah,
like, I have
the
to have
cape
that
with
shit.
the lights inside.
I love that. So fun. I
So
saw them
good.
do that. So fun.
When I think back, so I thought about this a lot in the early part of this year when we were making Undermine season 1. And I was trying to imagine like what were the goals of this band in 1984 and 85 and 86 when like the gears were just starting to creak together and like, is Jeff going to be in the band? Hey, who's this keyboardist? Hey, can we make this work? Hey, I've got a new song. It's called You Enjoy Myself. It's like 18 songs all mashed together in one. Somehow it works. And it's this brilliant new take on rock music. Oh, I've got Fluffhead. Hey, we're going to do Gamehenge. Oh, we also jam for 26 minutes off of Whipping Post. These like little seeds of like who Phish was in that like mid 80s period in time. I was trying to think like what are the goals of this band long term? Like what are their ambitions? And at that point in time, when they were literally, they had their core fan base, but let's be real, like nobody's asking for Phish to play at an arena in 1986. And the reality of them actually doing that seems just ludicrous. It's just a band. Like they're just guys who like to play together. And I often think like in their wildest dreams, the goal of what they would sound like is December 95. And to me, it is the purest, but like most, I don't know, like the biggest version of what they could be. It's like this maximalist take on everything that Phish has ever done. And for me, 1995 is my favorite year of Phish. I love the dichotomy between the summer tour and the December tour, where you have these like 45-minute long jams that are just dissonant and there's no trace of a melody and they don't even want to, and they're almost like begging you to like leave the show. They're just playing so aggressively and they're like, can you handle this? Okay, but can you handle this for like 10 more minutes? And
Yes.
yes, I can.
Jonathan can.
And I love it. Like I put those, man.
RJ couldn't. He was like, no, flips to next year.
I put those like lengthy jams on constantly, and I just love them. That is some of my favorite sound that Phish has ever made, and it's all in service of this goal that in my head they have that would ultimately be reached in December 97. Like that goal of how is this communication going to lead us to playing melodic music that will allow us to all play as one instrument, all happens between 95 and 97 with Remain in Light being in there. But in the meantime, they have to stop off one more time in their home turf, if you will. And it's the first time since December 92 where they're going to end the year with this kind of lap around the Northeast. And between 1992 and 1995, so much has changed. We have a baby grand piano that adds depth to their sound. We have arenas. We have the new Halloween shows. We have the kind of seedlings of the festivals in their shows at Sugarbush. Like we have all these aspects of Phish that have been added to them over these 3 years that are beyond any of their wildest dreams. And like you said, Jonathan, like that Mike's into Weekapog, the Tweezers, the You Enjoy Myself from Albany, the Down with Disease, this taking of a new song and like adding a maximalist but melodic approach to it in Providence. that first set in the Spectrum on 12:15, the random Haley's in NICU into Slave in Broome County Arena. Like, we have all these moments where the band is just like taking their past and adding something extra to it. And you hear that in December 95 in a way that almost predated all of the conflicts that would come. Like, they had to reinvent themselves after that because they'd reached this peak. Without that, there is no reason for 1997 to happen. They are still searching. Like, they've reached this peak, and that to me is just such a fascinating moment. And no disrespect whatsoever to December 97, because I absolutely love it. December 99, I love it, but it is definitely a notch below for me. But yeah, December 95, that is give me no contact with anyone else and just those like 14 shows to play for the rest of my life, and I will be a happy person. I'll make one request. Just please let me have the second set from Worcester 1229, but we'll get to that next week.
The boat finds you in 3 years. You're going to have rearranged your brain.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I think that we did. Do we have anything else that we want to throw out here about December Phish?
No. I think we covered it. Meg, you think so?
Yeah, I think we did a good job.
All right.
I think I
we
stood
did
my
too.
ground, even though
You should.
I've got
Always.
2
Don't listen.
December 95 proponents here, but it's good. I like
guarantee
it.
you a huge segment of Phish internet is out there on your side completely. So don't worry. Just because us weirdos have one opinion doesn't mean we stand ahead. So,
it'd be boring if we all agreed, right? Come on.
Yeah.
It would.
Exactly.
It would. Well, thank you guys. This was a ton of fun. This was a great diversion from my Thursday, and I hope for everyone out there listening, you guys had fun. We'll be back, as we will be for the next couple of weeks, next Tuesday, December 7th at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we are going to be talking about 1229s through Phish history. And if you're asking, what about 1228? We'll cover a bit of 1228. We have to start the New Year's run with 1228, but we do just want to showcase the way that this New Year's run here in 2021 and 2022 is going to be highlighted. So we'll do a little bit of 1228 love, but then we're going to jump into the meat of 1229. And if you are even a hint of a Phish fan, you know that when I say 1229 Phish, I mean something special. I know what Jonathan's thinking.
Yes.
I know what you're thinking. I think I have an idea about what you're thinking, Megan. And what am I thinking? Man, there are just so many great 1229 shows throughout Phish history that I can't wait to dig into it. It's just going to be more music that we have to listen to, isn't it?
Bummer.
It's a hard job.
It's a hard job. Jonathan, you want to send us out with some love for Shift?
Yeah. We want to remind everybody once again that HFPod on Tour is proudly presented by Shift Genuine Cannabis, based and sold in Colorado. Shift sells flower, pre-rolls, cartridges, and concentrates. Please visit shiftcannabis.com to learn more.
Please do. Shift is a wonderful partner and great people. I also want to tell you about Section 119. Hey, I'm wearing a hoodie from Section 119. It's really, really comfortable. I said it on Tuesday and I meant it. It feels like I'm wearing a hug. It's the best feeling.
Brian, have you taken that off since I saw you on Tuesday?
It walked into the room by itself.
Only briefly. Right now, Section 119 is running their biggest promo ever. You can score up to 30% off for the holidays. Visit section119.com to check them out. You can find cool gifts for your wife, for your good friend, for your husband, for your brother, for your dad, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your nieces, your nephews, whoever it may be in your life, your favorite podcaster who's running live shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just treat yourself, maybe. That could be great. We would love for you to treat yourself. Section119.com. And just a quick reminder, we said this at the top of the show, but please let them know that your friends at HFPod, that's us, that we sent you. Take the post-purchase survey on your order confirmation page, and they will know that we are the ones that sent you. And with that, Megan, Jonathan, I think we did it. I'm really excited to talk with you all on Tuesday. And I wish you all the best with your Phish listening experiences over the next couple of days. We got at least a weekend to get through
It's going to be
1229s.
tough. It's going to be
It's
tough.
going to be tough.
I'm
Someone has to do it. My wife and kids. Well, my wife will be cool. My kids will be like, all right, all of these jams, come on.
They sound
But-
the same, man. What's up? Can we please
Didn't
put on
they
some
ever
Tay-Tay?
sing? Are there any words in these songs? I hear a lot of
No,
that.
man, it's New Year's Eve run. We're getting into the thick of it. We'll be excited for you all to be here. Same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, same place, the internet. And we'll just be back here on December 7th. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see y'all soon.
Thanks, y'all.